This is radical honesty, how to transform your life by telling the truth. Now, on an enlightenment scale, I'll give Brad Blanton a solid 7 out of 10. Now, he's not a saint, but he definitely knows what he's advocating. He's been there and he's also still fighting. He talks about how the weight of our secrets, our privacy, reduces our quality of life. The reason why we all wear masks. We live in constant fear of being found out. And he also talks about the stages that one must go through in order to finally liberate yourself from this game of pretend. Now, it was a bit difficult to extract favorite quotes from this book because all the good lines are best understood in context. So instead of that, let me go over some major themes in the book and insert the quotes as how they relate to the theme. A lot of the major themes of the book revolve around the concept of moralism, the attitude that life should or shouldn't be a certain way. And it is our attachment to these shoulds that create our identity, our role, the idea of who we are. I am this and I do that. When we are born new, we experience reality directly. But as we grow, we collect experiences and lessons, and we observe reality through that lens, and our interpretations become based on the past. But the problem with this is that the present is always changing, so we have to continuously give up our identity in order to keep up with the ever-changing truth of reality. But now, because we're attached to our identity, the truth feels like the enemy, and facing reality feels like dying. But also, eventually, the burden of our identity, the burden of our illusion becomes too heavy in the face of reality. It becomes too much work to keep on pretending, and we have to give it up. Now, some people would rather die than give up their identity. They commit suicide before they face reality. Now, there's two types of suicide here. The suicide of the body and the suicide of the mind. You either die to yourself or you end up killing yourself. In fact, if it wasn't for death, we would be able to drive ourselves to eternal hell with illusion, with our tension against reality. And this may be the reason why we were kept from the tree of life, is because death is the only antidote to sin. Now, Brad Blanton is not a Christian author, and this is definitely not a Christian book, but he does certainly relate it to Christ's theology. Moralism being our attachment to the law, the shoulds and shouldn'ts that create our identity, and Christ being our liberation from it, the spirit of the law that frees us from judgment. So this is the root of the problem, our attachment to our ideals, our attachment to how things were or how things should be. He even says that it is our memories of heaven that make hell possible. He mentions the irony that as Dante was entering hell, there was a sign that said, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." And as Dante was entering hell, that began his path back up to heaven. The irony being that indeed it is by abandoning all hope that you make your way back up to heaven. It is by giving up on your ideals that you begin to ground yourself again in reality. That's it, I don't care. So now that you have a good idea of what Brad Blanton is about, he knows that telling the truth in this way that he suggests is not normal. What is normal is how people wear a mask every day. So I want to read to you this quote. "When I say what people normally do, please take it as a personal invitation to be abnormal. The best way to judge what is normal is simply to look into the faces of people walking down the street or on the subway or driving to work. Keep track of how many look happy. In my most recent count, 7 out of 10 looked either dead or damn unhappy. This is an invitation to abnormality from someone who has tried both normal lying and abnormal truth-telling." This quote serves as Brad Blanton's invitation to not be normal, to be radically honest.